The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Eels Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the interview-based podcast that comes out each and every week on a Thursday, a little bit later today due to Origin last night. But anyway, it is here, and today's special guest played at the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels. Also had a few games at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Also played over in Wakefield in England for Wakefield Trinity over in England, and that special guest is Mr. Brian Jackson. Now, Mr. Jackson, Brian Jackson, as I said, played at the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels, and he was certainly one of the most, I guess you could say, versatile players, and one of the most exciting players that I used to love watching play. Pretty recognisable by the long blonde hair, and also in some games as well, the black eye paint, black boot polish under the eyes. Certainly there is one game that I think if you don't know who I am talking about, check it out on YouTube. We talk about it in the podcast. It is against Canberra at Parramatta Stadium, as it was known back then. Parramatta and Canberra, 1990. So the Parramatta playing the Premiers, and it is a pretty stacked Canberra side. And Brian Jackson is a part of the Parramatta Eels side, with Kenny and Sterling as well playing, and scores a try in that game. But you can find it on YouTube. Check it out. It is a great watch of one of the games that Parramatta won in those early 90s periods, and this one especially against the reigning Premiers. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, Brian Jackson, then check this one out for sure. But look, Mr. Versatile, as I said, played a few positions in his time during his career. Played wing, centre, 5'8", came off the bench as well, but really made his mark in the centre position, playing most of that during his career. Look, I hope you really enjoy this. Pretty enjoyable to talk to Brian, as you don't really hear from him much, so I appreciate him for his time and his chat. Thank you very much to the sponsors of the podcast. Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Eels Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Teamwear, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times, also League Tees as well. But look, that's enough of me talking. You want to get straight into the episode, no doubt, and hear Brian Jackson's story. So, as Hindy says,
get a beer, coffee, whatever you want.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy, and let's get straight into it. And today on the Paracave Podcast, I've got a really interesting guest. And look, I was a Parramatta supporter from 1986, and I grew up watching rugby league, watching this player play, and certainly had an impact on myself watching the game, and was certainly a crowd favourite. And he played for the mighty Blue and Gold, my favourite club. Also had a few games at South Sydney, and also played over in England as well. Welcome to the Paracave Podcast, Mr. Brian Jackson.
No worries. Thanks, man.
Not a problem. Now, just before we get started into your career, what are you up to these days, and how's life treating you?
Treating me well. I started teaching sort of basically when I retired from footy. So I was teaching, and I do some at Gosford High School on the Central Coast. I'm a teacher in it there, and head teacher admin, which looks after a few things, but I still teach the kids, and that keeps me busy.
Ah, nice. Well, now going back to where it all started, growing up, did rugby league find you, or did you find rugby league? How did you get involved in rugby league and start playing it?
Actually, one day you'll probably interview my dad and mum. They know more about these things. I started when I was like 4 or 5, I think.
Okay.
As long as I can remember, there was a footy field down the end of my street, and I played for there at Heckenberg Oval for Heckenberg.
Ah, nice. Was there a club that you supported in those early days and players, perhaps?
Well, thanks to my dad mainly. We supported West. We used to go out to Lidcombe Oval when I was young. He'd take me out a few Saturdays. Back in those days, you could sit inside the fence, so we'd go and sit inside and watch the Magpies. What would that been? Maybe the 75s and stuff like that.
Nice.
Definitely a West Magpie supporter.
Yeah, the old Magpies, they are certainly missed these days from the competition. I still believe those original clubs should be in the competition, the West, South, North and East, but unfortunately they're not. But so how was it, that you became a Parramatta Eels player? Did you just play through the junior ranks and then get cited for Parramatta?
Well, I played in all of the rep teams. I know what they remember. You used to have Harold Matthews, and from about 12s, I think. And we lived at Liverpool, but at that time that was in the Parramatta area, and I played for Canley Vale, and they were in the Parramatta comp. I played in all of the rep teams, the 12s, 14s, I forgot they were called, and 16s, and then after those rep teams, I got graded after that.
Well, according to Parramatta's records, you won the 1984 Rookie of the Year award. That must have been a special award to win.
Oh, it was great. I don't know. My first year was pretty amazing, and it's funny to think back. I had when I was at Canley Vale, we won a fair few comps. We had a coach called Bertie Bass, and he coached up me from 12s to maybe 12s to 16s, and we won most of the comps. When we turned 16, he went to Parramatta, and he coached third grade, and I went to Canley Valley, and we went up to 16, so I went to Fairfield City, start 17th year, and about, 5 or 6 games in, he rang Mum and Dad and said, can I go down and train with the third grade? So one Tuesday I went down and just filled in, and he said, our 5/8 cert, can you fill in on Thursday? And then on Thursday I filled in, and at the time, Mick Cronin, who was the Australian centre, had done a knee injury. And back then he came back in third grade.
Yep.
So on the Saturday, he rang me and said, the other 5/8's still not good. You're starting tomorrow in third grade. And I went, oh, that's cool. And Mick Cronin was my centre.
Okay, wow.
So I just gave him the ball, ran around him, and had a really good game. He made me look good.
Yeah.
So it was a good start. And and we went all right that year and won the comp, so it was a good year.
No, that's awesome. Well, being at such a young age, what was it like to be around both legends of rugby league and also the Parramatta Eels?
Yeah, it was just great. I said, I don't know. I didn't think about things too much back then. I probably still don't. But, I just liked playing footy, and we'd turn up on Thursday, and I loved it. It was a lot more professional. The guys around you were serious. When you're playing junior football, they're great. Most of my friends were there. But when you went to the grade, you were serious about training and doing things right. And you got free shoes and boots. It was unreal. So So when I got there, I loved being there. And we used to train at Granville Oval. And we trained mostly against the second grade, but sometimes, you're still in the same room and the same shower as first graders.
And again, as a young bloke in the team, was there one of the older players that took you under their wing and gave you confidence and advice as well?
I don't want to build him up too much, but my family, my mum used to look after Steve Elder's daughters. Okay. So I sort of had known, I didn't know him, but mum knew him, and we sort of bumped into him. So when I got there, he was great. He just gave me a hand and made me feel confident. I didn't sort of feel they were any different. So I always felt comfortable there when I was a para, and Zip was great. And then the other boys well, they were all just good fellas, and they have been for the last 40 whatever years. We hang out, but yeah, I never felt intimidated or worried. They were just very friendly.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a great connection that you guys have got from those 80s period. 1985, round 21 versus the Magpies, the club that you supported as a youngster, at Belmore Oval, where Parramatta were playing at the time due to their stadium being built. You make your debut off the bench and score a try. That must have been great to get that first taste of first grade and have a crack at it.
Yeah. Again, I'm terrible. I'm terrible with two things. I'm terrible with, I know faces, but then their names, and I don't remember games that much. I just like back then. I know that day you played. You didn't sit on the bench. You played third grade, so I played a whole game in third grade, half a game in second grade,
Yep.
and then went on first grade. So it was a big day. But yeah, just getting there and being on it's just, I don't know. When I think about it now, I like the fact about playing first grade. The best thing about it's not, I don't know, not people or that. It's just when you play footy, the people around you are doing the same things you want to do, and they're doing them well. So it's good. Like if you turn the pass or you run into a hole, Serlo will get the ball. So it makes the game more fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, 1986 was a special year for Parramatta. They practically won everything, and they had a brand new stadium at Parramatta. And you played in that first ever game at Parramatta Stadium against the Dragons, which Parramatta won in the centres along Mark Laurie. That would be a pretty special game to play in, I could imagine.
Yeah, no, that was great. I noticed, was it a year or two ago, and they knocked the sucker down. It was a good when we had the first game now, but now it's gone like most things. But yeah, no, it was unreal to be playing and having the off season. And that year, Crow hurt himself, so there was a little spot there for me for a while. So, but yeah, it was great to be on the field for that game.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Mick Cronin's injury there, an eye injury, and during '86 you consistently played in the centres, but you also played on the wing and 5'8" as well. Was centre your favourite position to play in your career?
No, not technically. No.
Okay.
My junior years I was 5'8", and sort of what I liked. But when you got to first grade, they wouldn't drop Brett Kenny, unfortunately. No, you had to leave him in there. So I just filled in where I could. But the back line was so good. I was lucky to be anywhere. I sort of even, I don't know. To me, I was never a winger. I filled in there for a few games, but yeah, I was never technically a winger. But yeah, I would have loved to be 5'8", but and playing centre outside Brett was just as good. So you got the ball when you wanted and so forth. But technically, I thought I was always a 5'8".
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, you had one hell of a 5'8" in front of you, that's for sure. You got towards the end of the season, you were coming off the bench and a couple of games at centre, but obviously it would have been hard to crack that centre position with Steve Ella and Mick Cronin there. Did you see yourself in competition for perhaps another wing spot? As one was locked down, I guess, with Eric Grothe, but the other one was up and down with a few other players.
Yeah, I actually never. I played a few games and I don't know how well I went. I never actually saw myself. I wouldn't have picked me as a winger anyway. I would have. Yeah, I know they had TC and Mickey Dyer, and they were a lot quicker than me. They had a bit more experience as a wing and fullback. So yeah, I would play there for the team, but it was never. I never envisioned myself to be a winger.
Well, you played off the bench in that semi-final win against the Bulldogs, but unfortunately couldn't crack it for a bench spot for the grand final. You played 22 games that year. Was it a disappointment not to get a starting spot, or a bench spot, or be in that team of the '86 grand final?
Yeah, sort of when you think back, it was always disappointing because you want to play football, you want to be in the starting team, but it was probably the most disappointing thing was I warmed up for the last 10 minutes. I don't know if you remember the game. There was no breaks. Zip had hurt his shoulder.
Yep.
And he was on the field, and John Maynard said, warm up and get on for Zip.
Okay.
But it was 4-2, and we were going end to end, and I was like standing, waiting for a break in play to replace him because you can't take him off to a break in play.
Yep.
And then the bell rang, and we finished, and we didn't get on. But I was sort of standing next to, it would have only been a few minutes, but it would have been nice to get on. But it just doesn't happen, and then that's the way it worked out. But yeah, I was even probably closer than reserve bench. I was standing on the sideline when the final bell went.
Ah, geez, that's a great memory to have, but a hard one to have not actually getting onto the field, isn't it?
Yeah. When you think back now, at the time I was probably just thinking about next year, but yeah, when you look back now, so it would have been nice to walk on. But we played a few years before that. We played the reserve grade grand final. We played the reserve grade grand final that day, and we got beat, which was annoying. But yeah, it would have been nice to walk on.
So when that full-time hooter did go, what were the emotions like? Because you played a pretty, you contributed plenty throughout that season.
Yeah. I was annoyed because, like I said, we had been beaten in reserve grade, and then didn't getting on that. I was happy for the boys, and then later on in the night, you get over it, and you plan to think about what's going to happen next year and so forth. I was annoyed at I remember Bob Hawke, I think, walked through the dressing rooms, and it might have been that day. A lot of the games intermingle for me.
Yeah.
But and I just didn't even look around. I wasn't that happy to be there. But as the night went on, it became fun. We had a good night.
Yeah, the celebrations must have been fun back at the Leafs Club.
Yeah, so it was good. It's been like that probably since then. And if we get together, it's great with the crowds, but just being together and having a beer, it's always fun.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, one question I want to ask, and feel free not to answer it if you don't want to, because I know you may be biased to someone. But in my opinion, one Eels player or players from that 80s winning run should be an immortal of rugby league. What are your thoughts, and who would you choose as an immortal?
Yeah, you pick the back line. They all complemented each other and worked really well. We could pick any of them, but I imagine Brett, 2 tries in every grand final, State of Origins, everything he done was great. So he would probably be one I'd think about. But up prior to injuries, the rest of them could easily be there, winning 3 grand finals or 4 grand finals. When not many immortals have got that.
No, that's for sure. Well, after that 86 season, Price and Crowe, they retire after that game. 1987 rolls around, and Parramatta are the defending premiers. Was it difficult to play in 1987, knowing those two had retired and every team steps up against the premiers?
Yeah, it's probably something, I don't know, the way I always thought about football. I never walked on. I can never remember walking on a field where I didn't think we were going to win. And although they weren't there, we still had the core, Stella and Brett and Guru. We had and good forwards. I never thought about the fact that we would be less of a team because of them.
Yeah.
I said I never walked on without thinking we were going to win that day.
Well, one huge thrill in 1987 was again against the Magpies, and you played your favourite 5/8 position, and Peter Sterling was a halfback. That must have been a massive thrill.
Yeah, it's I know that him and Brett played together for years, but I don't know, it means to me. I often thought the same in football, which way if you should go left or right. So when you're playing, I would say that's why most of my tries running off him was just he could sort of had the same idea of how football should work, and yeah, it was great. If I knew that if I was in the right spot, the ball would be there, and it was great, and it was an honour to play there.
What was Coach John Money like for yourself as a coach?
He was good. He actually, was it about then? No, it was a bit later. A couple of years later, I moved up to the Central Coast, so I used to travel to training with him in a bit.
Okay.
And he was fine. He was good. He was. I think he was following similar styles to Jack Gibson, and that's the type of footy I loved. I loved Jack Gibson. I didn't own Jack. Yeah. I got there the year that he left. So, but I think it was the same ideas, and the way they played footy was the same thought processes. So, I loved it. I loved playing that.
And also, probably one of your coaches at Parramatta in reserve grade was Peter Louis. I had him on the podcast just recently. What was he like as a coach? Yeah,
he was good. He was I can't remember his age. I played the first year, second year. I think I played second and third year. 85, 86, I played seconds a lot. And, yeah, he was coaching then. He was great. We all played, we had the same ideas of how to play football. We had the limited errors and same kind of moves. And he used to love, I was a favourite when you happened to be in the second, if you were in 85, trying to score. We trained against each other on Saturday mornings or something, try and score again. Tries against the first was always good. But yeah, Pete was great. And then for a few years.
Yeah, no, it was good to catch up with him on the podcast, and interesting his talk about being a coach at Parramatta in those mid to late 80s. Speaking of the late 80s, early 90s, Para players used to wear the black boot polish under the eyes at night games. Did that actually work, or?
Yeah, I don't think so. I remember that, but someone said do it, and we just did it.
Yeah.
I don't think it mattered. It made it look different. I don't remember it making it any easier.
One in, all in.
Back
sort
then,
of
the
thing?
lights weren't real good anyway. So
One in, all in, sort of thing.
yeah. So I said stick that in there. I said yeah, that's a good idea. We'll get that again. But I like night games, but I don't think they make a great deal of difference.
Well, one game that was played at night and the boot polish was under the eyes was in 1990, round 11 against Canberra at Parramatta Stadium, and I just watched it the other day on YouTube, and you had an absolute blinder of a game. You scored a try, set up one for Danny Krankovic, and it was a great game. So if you ever have time, check that one out on YouTube.
Okay, yeah.
Sterling and Kenny were on fire that day, and especially a great win against the reigning premiers, particularly when Parramatta was struggling a little bit.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Like I said, a lot of games mixed together, but yeah, we went. If we went good, that one that's excellent.
In 89-90, you went over to England to play in the championship tier for Wakefield Trinity. Was playing in England something you always wanted to do in your career, or it just came up?
No, well, it just came up because it was funny. Probably Zip again. Zip had been there the year before at Wakefield, and he came whatever year I forget what it was, but he went the year before, and then they wanted him back next year, but he said he couldn't make it, and I think, and then they invited me over. So,
okay.
And it was a good coincidence. The Pricey had come back that year, so it was. What was it? I think it was 2 years later he retired in '86, maybe '88 or '89, '88 maybe. He played over there for a year, so he was the captain when I was there. So it was really. Like I said, he stayed and lived with us for a month, and we had a great time. I loved it. Just training a couple of times a week and playing on weekends, and then go and visit and then have a look around England. It was unreal.
Yeah, no, Pricey was 36 and playing over in England, and absolutely amazing. What was it like compared to playing in Australia? I've heard the crowds are pretty vocal over there.
Yeah. You get there, and we used to only didn't have 2 games, have 1 game. So you get there and walk in the sheds with no one, and then walk out half an hour later, and it's packed, and they're all singing, play a game, and then they're all gone again. It was I loved it. I loved playing there. We went really well, and I ended up tearing a cartilage. So Pricey wasn't happy with me, but I had to come home and get a knee operation. That's why I had to leave a bit early. But they'll make it for our season.
And then 1991 was your last year at Para, and then a move to South Sydney. Was it disappointing to leave Parramatta, and why was it that you left Para?
They asked me to.
Okay. Yeah.
The year before, it must have been I had an offer from Canberra, but I was going to uni at Macquarie, so I sort of went to not go down to Canberra.
Yep.
And then I was that was probably I haven't told him, but it was a bit disappointing when one Saturday night in summer, Dennis Fitzgerald just rang up and said, "We're not offering you a contract next year. Thanks for your years, bye." So. I just talked to a couple of guys, and I just forgot his name now. I didn't have a manager, but I had 2 guys, a radio guy who said, "I will ask around," and he talked to South, and they said, "Yeah." And I was a little bit disappointed there too, but I only played 4 games at South. I broke my foot, and then had 16 weeks off, I think.
Was that then the decision to retire, or?
Yeah. After that, I sort of got a bit sorry for South because played the first 4 or 5 games, and I broke my foot, and it just didn't get better. It took over 16 weeks to start running again. So that was about it.
Yeah, no. Was there? Did you find much differences between Parramatta and South Sydney in the way that the clubs were run and the like?
Yeah, and South were at that stage. I think were what would you call it? We're rebuilding maybe because we had Frank Curry was coach, and we had. I'd been with the Para guys all my life basically, so they were sort of. I just knew the team better. And, having only the first few games there, I didn't get to fit right in. So, it was unfortunate to have my foot. If I'd have stayed there longer, might have got they were great. The guys in the team were helpful. But, we've only played a few games. I didn't really get to fit in.
Well, no doubt a tough decision to retire, but how did you go into that next transition of life? How did you find it? Did you know that what you were already going into or what you wanted to do post-football?
No, that's when you think about this, it's something that just happened. When I was at Parramatta, I was going to uni and did my science degree, and they said what you could do a teaching degree while you're there. I never thought of teaching. I just thought I'll do it while I was there. Finished uni, and when I was a sales rep for a while I was playing because you didn't get enough money playing footy. So I was a sales rep for a while. And then when I finished, my wife moved up. We just had pubs there, and we moved up to the Central Coast. And I thought, I need a job. So I went back to actually there was a footy team up here, and some guy in there was a deputy, and he said, come and work at Erina High School as a casual. Yep. So I started there the next day and then didn't leave there for 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah, so I had the degree. So to be honest, I love physics and I love science, and teaching allows me to do that. But when I did the teaching degree, I never thought planned I'd be teaching.
Yeah, no, it's a strange world sometimes in terms of decisions that you can make in life. We know rugby league in the 80s and 90s was tough, and it's still tough today, but it sort of was I guess you could say, a different type of toughness. Are you worried about your health for the future because of the way that the game was played in the past?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I see a lot of the newspaper reports, but I also had a neurosurgeon, and I can't remember his name, talk to us at a function, and he's doing research. And he only had, as a scientist, you've got to do a lot more research. He only had 150 samples, but at the time he said that between a non-sportsman, an Olympic sportsman, and a league player, there wasn't any greater brain problems. Now, like I said, you need to do thousands to get any kind of reliable statistics, but I say, I don't know, worrying about it doesn't do any good. Maybe if I was starting to play, I could think about it, but it's far too late to worry about it. Well,
from what you can see these days, do you think the NRL is doing enough to protect its players?
Oh yeah. I think that's. I know it's unfortunate, but it's changing the game. So my boys played in the last few years, and the game's faster and completely different to what we had, and the crowds love it. So I think they are. I said this year, unfortunately, people go, well, it's tough, but yeah, you got to protect the players. If you don't know something's going to cause them problems, then nothing you can do. But if you know there may be a chance it's going to cause brain damage, then you got to do everything you can.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, speaking of today's NRL, do you watch much of the NRL these days? And if so, is Parra your team?
Yeah. I watch them. I watch the games. I just like the games. I like some. Each few years, maybe they're different because I like the way teams play. I like them to. I don't like. The Melbourne style play where everyone has their position and they're second man, run up. I like people who throw the ball from their own court anyway. And so I just like watching football that is probably creative rather than, what do you call it, systematic or, follow the system that the club have. I like when they do different things.
Is there a favourite player or players that you like to watch in today's game?
Probably not a lot. Who we got? I haven't thought of who we got. I hate to say it, there's a couple of many players that go well.
The Travojeviches?
Yeah, no, more the guys that get the ball to them.
Daly Cherry Evans?
Yeah, Daly. And again, I don't like saying it, but yeah, he's playing well at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Well, you mentioned before that you still keep in touch with your teammates, and we see that the Blue and Gold Alliance are doing a great job getting the boys back together a couple of times a year and telling old stories. Do you keep in touch with many of your former teammates?
Yeah, well, I try to. They've all got families and we get really busy. I chat to a few of them every now and again. What we do is we have a reunion. We have a reunion at the club, which is good, but there's a lot of people there. We have a reunion where we go up to surface once a year.
Yep.
And there's probably from the 80 to 86 teams, 87 teams, and that's really good. There's 20 of us. You don't have to. It doesn't get noisy and loud. We just have a beer and have a laugh, and it's like it happened. We saw each other yesterday, so I don't see them enough, but I do. When we do see them, it's always good fun.
And the tries get longer as they get scored, and the stories get bigger and better, and each and every year. No, look, it's great to see. We see it on social media when you guys get together, and it's great that you guys have that connection. Do you think it's important in, I guess, these days, a team being connected off the field as well as on the field to achieve success?
Yeah, that was interesting. I've actually thought this a few times. I don't know if when you win, you get closer, or when you're close, you win. I don't know which way it works. Whether you win, so you get on better. But I know that every team that I've won in have got on really well.
Okay.
So whether the getting on well goes first or the winning goes first, I'm not sure. Yeah,
no, that's an interesting way to look at it for sure. But I know, winning makes everything better, I guess. Time for some common league questions. Do you have a favourite game that you played in throughout your career? One that maybe stands out?
Unfortunately, no. No, they all sort of mingle together. One at Lang Park, I remember it was good, but I couldn't remember the score at the end of it. I see someone too every now and again when one of the really old ones come on.
Yeah.
Foxtel, and then I've got to watch it as if we won or not.
That's all good. It's great in the summertime when they do replay those old games, that's for sure. Other than your home ground, did you have a favourite ground that you used to love playing at?
Lang Park was good in the later years. Lang Park. Hated Lidcombe. No, I didn't hate Lidcombe Oval, but it was always almost drowned on Lidcombe Oval one year, so that was bad. But
wow.
I got tackled and my arms were held, and Trevor Cogger tackled me and he put my head under the water, and after you think you're all right, but after 3 seconds you want to breathe and you go, I thought I was going to drown.
That's it. Well, does that fall in then to the category of least favourite ground to play at then? Lidcombe Oval?
That would have been that day in the wet. In the wet, there was puddles everywhere.
Yeah, certainly the fields have
North
changed
Sydney,
these days.
the sand on North Sydney Oval was never fun either. It was all you down.
And the cricket pitch, no doubt, in the middle?
Yeah. Sydney cricket actually was the worst by a mile.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that. Yeah, the cricket pitch. You didn't play
pitch.
that often, but yeah, the cricket pitch, you had to stay away from that. It was terrible.
If you were playing there, you knew it was a big game, that's for sure.
That's I said, you only played there in the semis and stuff, yeah.
That's it. What was your nickname during your career, and who gave
tough
it to
one.
you?
No, since I was 2, Jacko. It was a tough one. That's it.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's nice and easy. In the sheds before a game, was there a player before a game or at the start of the game that you looked over and just glanced and it just gave you confidence and thought, okay, we're going to be on here today?
Just probably Stella and Brett. No, if they knew what they were doing, and it was good to have everyone around. The back line and our forwards. Any forward that was on the field would always do what we needed. But yeah, those two were always good to have in your side.
And then the reverse sort of thing. Who on the other side of the dressing room as well? You looked over and thought, "Geez, what's he up to? He's doing some strange things there."
No, I said the same. Brett would often be telling jokes and stuff, which is the way he played. It didn't matter if it was a big game, little game. He'd always do. Everyone done what the way. Some people just sat there quietly. Some wanted to talk. Some got ready and physical. But yeah, they were all fine. They all just did their job.
Does Brett then fall under the prankster at Parramatta?
He was one of them, and
Yeah.
him and Taz always had fun together. But yeah, it was just always a good group. There was always someone there to have a laugh with.
That's it. If you didn't go down the rugby league path, what do you think you would be doing?
No, I don't know. That's one of my problems. I never really planned that far ahead, which I probably should have. Would love to be a pilot. I reckon I'd be a pilot. Would have been a cool job.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Definitely. Time for the quick top 10, which is sort of a yes/no. You can elaborate on it if you want to. Barbecue or tomato sauce?
Tomato.
Just a side question to that one. Where do you keep it?
I'll get in trouble. I think I'd keep it. Where do I keep it? I'll keep it in the cupboard, but my kids want it in the fridge, so it often turns up in both.
Okay, well, I'm with you on that one. I'm a cupboard man. I don't like it in the fridge either, so I'm a cupboard man. On a plane, do you prefer the window or the aisle seat?
Plain window.
Yeah. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
That's all you have. There's only one type of pizza, ham and pineapple. That's it.
Fair enough. That's an easy one. Are you a tea or coffee man?
Yeah, both.
Nice.
Both equally and both too much.
Nice.
I'm at work. When I'm at work.
Yeah. Got to keep you going. Are you Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone?
Probably Sylvester Stallone is my favourite ever time movie. Rocky 1's the best movie ever.
Yes. No, I'm a Rocky 3 guy. I like that one right in the middle there, but all of them are classics, that's for sure, in that Rocky franchise. McDonald's or KFC?
Probably Macca's, not overly keen on. Yeah, be Macca's, yeah.
And during your playing days, did you have like a post-game cheat meal sort of thing that you'd have whether you won or lost?
Nah, I had a pre-game meal. I used to like spaghetti bowl beforehand, but not for any reason other than I like it. But yeah, not after a game, but before a game, I tried to have a spaghetti bowl.
Yeah, nice. Are you a morning or night person?
Probably a morning, I'd say. Love the mornings.
Summer or winter?
Probably winter. I love cold mornings.
Oh,
Up here at the moment, I sweat too much in summer.
Yeah, it's coming right into your time of year then. Coke or Pepsi?
Well, I'm a diabetic, so neither.
Okay,
I probably
yeah,
get some Diet Coke occasionally.
Yeah, that fair enough. Is that hard to live with, diabetes? How do you go about that?
Well, I found out when my last few, maybe answer a few questions. My last few years, I got injured a lot, and when I retired a year or two later, I done the test and found out I was a diabetic. And you know, it's annoying because I don't mind. I was never scared of injuries, but if they got better, that's fine. But diabetes doesn't. Yep. But you know, I take insulin, and it's treatable, and I don't have any real problems. I try to live my life normal, but just have to have 4 needles a day.
So would that have been around during your playing career then?
Probably could have, yeah, because I think I would have. My doctor said I was getting it for a few years. It wasn't an instant oncoming. It was at a honeymoon period, he said. So it would have been. I remember, like, I don't know, you just to train, and for a while, at the end, as you train, you got fitter. But after a week of training, I just to get really tired. So then I'd have a day to rest, and I'd feel better again. Which I think it was affecting me. You know, you didn't know about it then, so I just thought I was getting old.
And speaking of training, do you prefer cardio or weights?
Neither.
No, that's fair enough.
I never enjoyed. I played footy. I trained to play footy. I never trained for fun.
Yep.
I did the training that you had to do to play footy.
That's good. That's good. And we'll wrap things up with the set of 6 questions, bit of the personality stuff. Is there a favourite sport outside of rugby league that you enjoy?
I like gridiron. I love gridiron. That's it. I'd watch gridiron if I had more time. It takes too long to watch, but I do like watching it.
Yeah, it does certainly take a long time to watch. I'm generally a once-a-year viewer, and that's Super Bowl. Do you have a team in the NFL?
Nah. I just watch it.
Yeah, nice. Favourite holiday destination?
Cross between Paris and Italy. We went there first time a couple of years back and loved it. Paris, just that part of Europe. Paris and Italy.
Good. I want to get to Italy one day. That's for sure. who would be the most famous person you'd love to meet, dead or alive, and have a chat with?
Love to chat with John Lennon.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't thought too much about it. There's a lot of people. Albert Einstein would be cool.
Yeah.
But John Lennon probably.
Okay, well, that probably
Have a beer with
falls
him.
into my next question then. Favourite musician or band to listen to?
It was my favourite band is Leonard Skinner.
Okay. Yeah.
And Led Zeppelin. They're
Yeah.
my two. Yeah.
What's your favourite Led Zeppelin song?
Well, I love that many of them, but it's Stairway to Heaven. It's just like the ultimate Stairway to Heaven. Yes. I know it's everyone's basic, but it is just such a good song.
Was there pre-game tunes in the sheds in your day that anyone was listening to?
No, because I don't think we had headphones back then.
Yeah, it was probably a bit early. For
I
that
remember one when Bertie Bass was coaching us in the juniors. We won. I said we won a few grand finals, and before a grand final, he would play "I Did It My Way," and it was the worst song ever to put you in the mood for football. But he played it every year in grand final day.
Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah. Oh, well, obviously worked.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I can never figure out why.
Classic song, that one. What's your specialty dish in the kitchen or on the barbecue?
I like lots of different stuff. A few Chineses, combination chamois. I like cooking a lot of different stuff. I can't think of a best one. I don't like family.
Whichever one gets eaten up all the time, I guess, in a hurry.
My house, they all get eaten, yeah.
The last one, which three former teammates, time you can give them up if you want to, which three former teammates do you think you wouldn't want to be on a deserted island with, and why?
I really couldn't think of anyone I didn't want to meet. I'd actually invite, if I was on with three, I'd try and invite the other 13 and would have a reunion.
That's a smart way to go about
I got
it.
no one that really annoys me.
That's a great connection there. So, look, as I said before, it's great to see you guys have that connection and catch up. And still, 40 years later, it's still alive and strong, and that's what brings, I guess, rugby league. It brings people together, doesn't it?
Yeah, we didn't get much money, but we got a lot of friends.
That's it. Definitely. Well, Brian Jackson, thank you very much for joining me today on the Parramatta podcast. I've loved every minute of it. It's great to talk to a player who played at the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels. So I really appreciate your time, and hopefully one day we can catch up and say good day, maybe at a Parramatta game or something like that. But thank you very much for coming on the podcast today.
No worries, mate. Give us a call if you need any.
Well, welcome back, and thank you very much for listening to Brian and his rugby league and life story. Certainly was interesting. As I said in the intro, someone you don't hear from a lot. I do see on social media sometimes him with his fellow teammates that he played with at reunions and the like, so I tried to get him on the podcast for his chat, and I really appreciate him for coming on and talking to me. As I said, one of the most, I guess you could say, recognisable players that played for the club that I love, the Parramatta Eels. So I hope you really enjoyed that chat. Coming up on the podcast as well, there'll be a replay chat of my talk with the Duckman on Pulse FM, previewing the round 17 of the NRL. There'll also be a game day preview of the Newcastle Knights versus the Parramatta Eels on Saturday that I will be attending at McDonald Jones Stadium up there in Newcastle. So if you see me out and about, come and say good day. Watching the Eels, hopefully they can get a win and maybe, just maybe, get off that bottom of the ladder, because it's not very good at the moment. But anyway, that will be coming out as well. There will be maybe some more other content coming out as well. So follow the Instagram page, follow the Facebook page, give those a follow. I'd really appreciate that one. And support the podcast by purchasing your Paracave Podcast hats are still only $10 plus postage and handling. So send me a message on social media and we'll get that organised for you. That would really support the podcast, and I appreciate those who have already done that and are wearing their hats out and about. I've seen one as far as Italy being one, so shout out to Mr. Chris Ricketts as well for doing that, wearing the Parrot Cave podcast over in Italy. So if you have purchased one, send me a picture of where you're wearing it and I'll put it up on the socials, that's for sure. But you can get those for $10 plus postage and handling. Just send me a message on social media. So I really appreciate that. Look, that's enough for me today on the podcast. As I said, I hope you really enjoyed the chat with Brian. I certainly did. I'm hoping to catch up with him one day at a Parramatta Eels game and say good day. And just stay tuned to the Instagram page for more content and more podcasts that are coming out as well. I hope you're really enjoying it. If you are, please give it a 5-star rating and review. I'd really appreciate that one. And we'll see how we go from there. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy your footy over the weekend. Hopefully Parramatta can win. Hopefully your team can win, unless it's the Newcastle Knights, of course. But no, just joking. But look, thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the footy this weekend and the Parrot Cave podcast by the fan for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parrot Cave podcast. See you next time.